Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. So, a few days ago, the developers announced the revamped Kensei tree for fighters. There's a whole slew of buffs and changes from the old Kensei tree. In this video, I'm going to go through all the changes and just talk about and tell you guys what the buffs are, what the changes are from the old tree to the new tree. And I'll also provide a link in the description to the developer post so you can read through all the changes for yourself if you'd like. Let's start from the top with the first change, which was to the core Strike with No Thought. The old Kensei tree read as this. This was the old core. When you have a melee weapon equipped in your main hand that is part of your focus, you gain 1% double strike or 1% double shot, depending on whether your focus is melee or ranged, and each additional core ability you have increases this bonus by 1%. So basically what it did, the old version did, was say you had four core abilities in the Kensei tree, then you would get a 4% bonus to double strike and a 4% bonus to double shot when you have a melee weapon equipped as part of your focus. Now the new tree gives just a straight +1 competence bonus to critical multiplier. So a lot of these old restrictions about having to have a weapon that's based on your weapon focus, all that's thrown out, and it's just kind of really simplified to just be a +1 competence bonus to critical multiplier, which it's definitely a straight DPS increase. +1 competence bonus to critical multiplier is much better than just a +4% double strike or double shot, or even if you have all the cores, like 5 or 6% increase. So that's just a straight DPS buff. The other core they changed was Power Surge. The old version of Power Surge was read like this. Power Surge, an action boost. You gain +8 psionic bonus to strength for 60 seconds. If you possess the ability to generate ki, you gain on hit +2 ki. Now the new version is just the same thing, except it's a +8 psionic bonus to all attributes for 60 seconds. So instead of it just being +8 strength, you now get +8. If I'm understanding it correctly, you get +8 strength, dexterity, constitution, all that stuff, which is pretty nuts. Although it's not as crazy as you'd think, because fighters generally only utilize like two or three stats, strength and constitution. What this will do, though, is it will provide, along with the strength bonus, it will provide a nice temporary bonus to your hit points, and it provide a nice temporary bonus to your saves. So another straight DPS buff. The next change was to the capstone. The old capstone read like this. Alacrity. You gain passive bonuses +2 to strength, +15% double strike, +15% double shot, +2 action boost uses, and +2 to the DCs of all tactical feats. The new version is a +2 to all ability scores, +15% double strike, +15% double shot, +4 action boost uses, and +2 to your DCs of your tactical feats. So the changes here is the number of action boosts went from 2 to 4, and instead of getting just a +2 to strength, similar to the Power Surge ability, we're going to get a +2 to all ability scores. So you're going to also get +2 to strength, dexterity, constitution, all your stats, if I'm understanding this correctly. So far in the cores, we just see basically just straight buffs, more DPS, more benefits from your fighter surge abilities. So let's move on to tier 1. The first change was made to the action boost enhancement. The old enhancement read like this. Action boost, you could choose one. There was attack boost and haste boost. The old attack boost gave you a +4, +6, or a +8 action boost to hit for 20 seconds, depending on how many tiers you took. That was kind of useless, because if you're a fighter, you're not going to have to hit problems because you're already going to have a high strength, and plus there's all kinds of things you can equip into your gear set in game that will increase your to hit if it were to be a problem, but I don't know how it would be a problem for a fighter. So no one really ever chose that one. The next, for the old enhancements, haste boost The old version was you gain plus 10, plus 20, or plus 30% action boost to attack speed for 20 seconds, or 30 seconds. And there was a bug that the last tier of this only lasted for 20 seconds instead of the intended 30 seconds. So, and that was the good one. That's what everyone picks. Everyone should have picked. And let's see now what they've done with the change. For attack boost, instead of just adding a plus 4, plus 6, and plus 8 to hit, the new version now adds that bonus to both to hit and damage for 20 seconds. And as far as the haste boost goes, they changed the last tier to last instead of 20 seconds. They fixed that bug, so now lasts the intended 30 seconds. So that's actually not just for fighters. That's a big boost for basically all melee classes, because most, or all splashing melee classes, most melee classes anyways, do splash a little fighter for that haste boost because it's so good. So really a lot of classes got buffed with that change. Like an extra 10 seconds of haste boost is actually a really big deal. And now let's talk about the attack boost change. The old version gave you a plus, just a flat bonus to your to hit. This new version now gives that bonus to both to hit and damage. What does this mean? Well, it doesn't mean you're gonna in game you're gonna want to pick it over haste boost, because these are flat bonuses and they're not going to scale. Although they are base increases, so when you multiply that damage out, it does scale kind of. But what I think, now this is before looking at any math or anything, but it seems to me that this means that you'll want to take attack boost just at very low levels, because at that point, at very low levels, a plus 8 to hit and damage is actually a pretty big deal at very low levels. But as you get into higher and higher levels, it's going to be less and less of a deal. So I could be wrong about that. That's just my early impressions without looking at the math. But it seems like you'll still want to use your haste boost in game and such. But the attack boost now will be an option at low levels. And also one other thing to note is the attack boost does only last 20 seconds, and the haste boost is going to last 30. So that's kind of a big thing to understand. Okay, the next ability is Read in the Wind. The old version was just a melee, kind of a melee clicky attack, which dealt plus 1 weapon damage, and if you successfully damaged your target, you would gain a plus 3, 6, or 9% insight bonus to dodge for 6 seconds. That was the old version. The new version is the same with two differences. The old version had a cooldown of 30 seconds. That's being reduced to 15 seconds. Also, the old version was just a flat plus 1 weapon damage. That's being changed to a plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 weapon damage, depending on how many tiers of this enhancement you take. So another straight DPS boost here. Let's move to the changes they made to Tier 2. The first one is improved dodge. The old version gave you plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3% dodge when wearing light or no armor, depending on how many action points you spent in this. The new version, it looks like it's the same with just a couple changes. They reduced the AP cost. It was 2 AP for every tier. Now it's down to 1 for every tier. It mentions that it now has a multi-selector where you can take improved defense, which will instead give you a plus 2, plus 4, or plus 6 bonus to PRR. So a little bit of an option there for fighters who are not light or robe wearers. So your non-monk splashes, it gives a little support for your classic heavy armor wearing fighter builds. Let's move to weapon meditation, and this ability they're just taking out of the tree, which I thought it was a little funny because, yeah, I've tried to use this ability personally on my fighter. I think he's at level 24 at the moment. It's just kind of, I don't blame him. That it just was never a very good ability, so they're just removing it, which is fine by me. It was never useful to begin with. The next change is to aesthetic training. This was a multi-selector, which gave you an option of either of 3 different things. You could pick agility, which give you a small bonus to concentration, reflex saves, and dodge cap. You could pick conditioning, which gave you a plus 1, 2, or 3 bonus to concentration and fortitude saves, plus a little bit of HP, which was 5, 10, or 15. Or you could pick contemplation, which gave you a plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 bonus to concentration and will saves. And at rank 3, it gave a benefit for monk splashes, which would make your passive key regeneration increase by 1. Now, the new version for conditioning, the bonuses changed to plus 1, plus 2, and plus 3 fortitude saves, plus 5, plus 10, plus 15 hit points, or plus 5, plus 10, and plus 15 fortification. So actually, the way I'm understanding this from the developers saying is this actually changed to all of this. Yep, I think so. So the only changes for conditioning, instead of getting plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 to Constitution and Fort, and a bonus to HP, you're now going to get Fortification in addition to that. So I actually kind of really overcomplicated that one there. It looks like the only change is they're just adding Fortification bonuses to conditioning. Okay, let's move on to Weapon Group Specialization, which, let's see. Okay, that was also in Tier 2. The old version was you could pick a weapon type and it would give you a small bonus, a plus 1 to hit and damage with your certain weapon, and plus 2 bonuses to damage if you used a two-handed weapon or a non-repeating crossbow. So the changes are, it looks like instead of being a plus 1 or a plus 2, it's just increasing both of these. It basically is doubling the damage for both of these enhancements. So if you were to take this enhancement for a single-handed weapon, the old version would only give you a plus 1 to hit and damage. The new version is going to give you a plus 1 to hit, but a plus 2 for damage. And prior to the change, if you were taking this for, say, like a two-handed weapon, like a greatsword or something, the old version would have given you just a plus 1 to hit and a plus 2 to damage. The new version is going to give you a plus 1 to hit, but a plus 4 to damage. So basically, it's just going to double the flat damage bonus for this enhancement. Okay, let's move to Tier 3. The first change is critical accuracy is being changed to be called now critical mastery. The old version gave you a plus 1, plus 2, or a plus 3 to confirm critical hits. The new version is going to give you a plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 to critical damage and to confirm critical hits. So basically, you're going to keep that confirmed critical hit bonus, but it's also going to add a plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 bonus to critical damage as well. So just another straight DPS boost. Let's move to improved mobility, which was just flat out removed. And in its place, we got athletic mastery, which is going to be similar. The old version, which was called improved mobility, gave you plus 1, plus 2, or plus 3 maximum dexterity bonus and a dodge cap while wearing light or no armor. The new version is going to give you the same bonus, but it works in any armor. So again, this is another theme we're seeing of the developers. What they've told us they do is they're building in more support for your traditional heavy fighters. This enhancement before really wasn't useful for any fighters except your monk splashes, but now it's going to give that same dexterity and dodge cap bonus to every fighter, no matter what armor you're wearing. Okay, let's move to Shattering Strike, which was a fighter activation ability. This ability, the old version, basically gives you a plus. It give you a bonus to weapon damage from 1 to 3, and it also gave your target a fortification debuff for 10 seconds. And there is also a DC check along with that. The new version is similar, except it's just straight buffed. The cooldown has been reduced by 10 seconds, and the fortification debuff on enemies now no longer has a saving throw. So that's good. That's a straight buff for fighters, and it will Maybe for boss fights it'll be a little more useful now. The next change is to, let's see. The next change is to weapon group specialization. It looks like this is a similar bonus as we saw to the weapon group specialization in the prior tier. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's going to double your damage. The old version gave you +1 to hit and +2 damage for single-handed weapons, and +1 to hit and +4. Excuse me. The older version gave you +1 damage for single weapons and +2 damage for two-handed weapons. The new version gives you double that, so +2 damage for single-handed weapons and +4 damage for two-handed weapons. Tier 4, critical damage was removed. They've added a few new abilities at Tier 4. The first one is Opportunity. It's called Opportunity Attack, and it has 2 charges. It's a melee attack. It deals +1, +2, or +3 weapon damage, depending on how many points you invest into that enhancement. And here's the description. Your melee power is boosted by 10 for 6 seconds every time you damage an opponent, but no more than once per second. You have a 10% chance to add a charge up to a maximum of +2. So this sounds a lot like the enhancement from the Dreadnought tree, Blitz. It sounds a lot like Blitz, except it's not quite as good, but it's similar. It's kind of a heroic version of Master's Blitz. It doesn't say in the description, but I'm assuming this decays over time, but I don't see a description for this. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it works like Master's Blitz. Maybe it stays up for as long as you can keep hitting your enemies. So we'll see. Next new ability is called Strike at the Heart, and this gives your weapons the improved destruction effect. And again, in this tier we see the same change we've discussed before to weapon group specialization. It will double your damage for this tier, +2 for single-handed weapons and +4 for two-handed weapons. And some big changes were made to your tier 5 abilities as well. Here's the last 3 or 4 changes. A Good Death. The cooldown for this ability has been reduced to 15 seconds. I think before, let me check. I think before it was 30 seconds. So that's a 50% reduction on the cooldown. In addition, their extra damage now activates if the target is below 30% health. And this extra damage scales with melee power. Next ability is One with the Blade. This is how it was changed. The description says you also gain, as part of the passive bonus, +20 melee power and +20 range power, and requirements are removed. So let's read the old version here. It's when it says the old requirements are removed, I'm wondering if that means the centering. I assume that means that this is now open to any fighter, not just monks. Could be wrong about that, but that's my initial impression. The next ability, Deadly Strike. Prior to the change, this ability required an action boost. The new version is permanent, so it's not permanent as in the effect is permanent. It's just that it no longer draws from your action boosts. The cooldown was reduced from 30 seconds to 20 seconds, and the charge on the Vorpal ability causes an extra 500 damage, which scales with 400% melee power, so another just straight DPS boost. On the Weapon Master ability, which I believe is a new ability. Oh, never mind. This is actually a new ability on Tier 5. You gain a +3 to hit and damage with all weapons. So that's all for the changes, guys. This is my first time reading through it, so I'm sorry if that was a little jumbled, and if I made any mistakes in my descriptions, please let me know. Again, this is my first time running through this, so I stumbled a little bit, but I hope that helps you guys understand some of the changes, or at least just make you aware of the changes. I don't know how many of you guys read the forums. I would say probably most of you who listen to my channel don't actually read the forums. So that's just to bring that to your attention. Again, below in the description, you can see the post to this so you can read through all of it for yourself. But it was expected. They've been talking about a fighter change for a long time, and the main theme of this change is to make it so that traditional fighters that wear heavy armor and medium armor have an option. Prior to these changes, it was have a Kensei option. Prior to these changes, Kensei was basically a monk fighter only tree. You couldn't get a lot of benefit out of it if you were a traditional fighter. So they've changed that here. A lot of these abilities have been given options for your traditional fighters, or some of the requirements for you to be a monk splash have been removed. So, and also we've seen just a straight DPS buff in this tree in order for it to better compete with paladin trees, bard trees, other trees that have been passed already. So guys, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. I will see you next time. Have a good one.